Hey, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jaden Sermani. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be the top 2020 NFL quarterback prospects that we know of, at least as of right now, are coming out. We'll see within the next month who is going to stay in, who's coming out, but overall, this is what we have right now. Before I do get started, I do want to say thank you so much for over 7,000 views on that mock draft video I did on Christmas. That video has just blown up past what I ever expected. I just did it as a fun thing for me, and everybody has loved it so far. I've gotten tons of feedback on it, people having conversations in the comments, and I just love seeing that. Also with the Miami Dolphins video, that one's climbing up as well, a few hundred views as well. Again, it's just really awesome to see the love in this community of people who are just focused on the draft, ready for the offseason. Because personally, I love the offseason of football almost as much as I love the season. Just so much. I'm fascinated by all the moves and everything. So just thank you so much for everybody. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and give this video a like as well. If you want to wait till the end and make sure I earn it, make sure I do that. If you don't like it by then, just refresh the page and watch it again, see if it does better the second time. But maybe a subscribe, give me a comment down, tell me who you think should be higher, should be lower, who might not have made the list, who might have made the list, who you don't think should be on here. This is just personally my opinion. All these videos are my personal opinion, and that's what's good about this, is that this is my opinion, and I want to hear yours in the comments, so go ahead and tell me who you think. Give me your top 10, and let's all talk about it. I love the conversations that we've been having on the past videos, and I'd love to have more in this one. So without further ado, we'll get started with the top 2020 quarterback prospects, and at number 10, I have the Utah quarterback Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley, 6'1", 215, and I mean, let's just go through with some of the basics with him. He's a 3-year starter, but he's played for 4 years. Some statistics for you. In his career, he's had 67.3% completions, almost 3,000 yards this season with 10.7 yards per attempt, 18 touchdowns to only 4 picks. That's just this season. In his career, he's had 45 touchdowns to 20 interceptions, with 10 of those picks coming as his first year as being a starter. He has a career total of 1,171 yards on the ground, with 17 touchdowns and 3.1 yards per carry. He's led the Pac-12 in efficiency rating, completion percentage, total yards per play, passing yards per attempt. That's all in the Pac-12. So Tyler Huntley, he's definitely shown a lot in his time at Utah. A lot of improvement. The team itself and just the organization as well, just shown a lot of improvement. Utah was one of the top teams going in. That people were wondering if they were going to sneak into the playoffs. Obviously, they didn't do that, and they kind of started to die out towards the end. Not too good of a bowl game, but Utah has had a good season, and Tyler Huntley's a lot of the reason for that. Now, I think that if he does come out, I don't know if teams are going to have him as a quarterback. This might be a situation where they want to move him to maybe a receiver or a running back or something to that type. But I think that happens with any quarterback that can run the ball. Some of the pros that I have here are he's a dual threat quarterback. I mean, the thing is, his arm talent isn't horrible. We see some of these dual threat guys that come into the league and they just need to move position because they weren't a good quarterback to start out with. They were more or less just a dual threat that could throw the ball pretty average. Huntley's pretty decent at throwing the ball. He extends the plays, but he doesn't always extend it just to run. He can extend the play and make the right throw, which is huge, and that's shown in Utah's season. He hasn't had the greatest, most sexy stat line this season. I mean, 18 touchdowns as a whole hasn't shown it to be a huge thing, but you got to look at it. I mean, they were one of the top teams. They have one of the best running backs in the NCAA in Zach Moss. There was a lot of wealth shared around, so Huntley isn't all to blame. I think that a team could take him in a day 3, maybe around 5, 6, 7. Even if he happens to go undrafted, I think he could make a roster, maybe at a Taysom Hill kind of thing, or maybe he could just be there and kind of learn and maybe strengthen his game more for a team that wants a dual threat quarterback in the back. Some cons that I do have for him is that he relies heavily on his legs instead of looking over for a second or third read. Now we see this in a lot of quarterbacks where they like their first read, and if that's gone, if they're a running quarterback, they like to just go and take off their legs. That's something Tyler Huntley does. He needs to look for the second or third read, keep himself in the pocket a little bit more, and make those throws if he wants to be a good quarterback at the next level, if that's possible for him. His arm strength is average. You see some throws get underthrown. You've seen throws kind of just lob and kind of float in the air. He'd really need to work on that strength if he wanted to get to the next level. At number 10, he's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to make a roster. He could just be a late round flyer, and maybe a team can do something with him. Maybe a team such as the Ravens. I know they have RG3 and stuff, but like a team with a dual threat quarterback already, to where if their quarterback gets hurt for some reason, they could have somebody with a similar type backing them up, like a Seattle or Arizona. I think that Tyler Huntley could do that for them, because offenses wouldn't have to change. If you look at let's say the Seahawks, right? Back when they had Russell Wilson and their backup was Matt Flynn, you can't run the offense the same. So Tyler Huntley could be a good backup for other teams, but we don't need to spend too much time on Tyler Huntley. He's my number 10 prospect. At number 9, I have Anthony Gordon out of Wazoo, 6'3", 210. He is the successor to the great Gardner Minshew out of Washington State, and he's had an amazing, one of the best seasons in college football. He's had an amazing year. 71.6% completion, which is just very, very good. That out of 10 passes, he's completing at least 10 of them. That's great. 48 touchdowns to 16 picks, a QBR of 157.9. He broke Minshew's school record with 9 touchdowns versus UCLA in a game that they actually lost. Minshew had the record with 7 touchdowns, so he broke it by a couple. He had the most completions in the NCAA, as well as attempts, passing yards, total plays, and yards. He was also second in completion and thirds in yards per play. I think it's a weird thing, because Anthony Gordon is a one-year starter and he's done so well, but he also led the Pac-12 in touchdowns and interceptions. So we'll go through the pros and cons real quick and see why I have him at 9. Because when you look at that, you're like, man, he led the NCAA in all these categories. He did all this. How could he be at 9? Well, this is why. He had an insane year. That's one of the pros. I mean, those stats are insane. That's talent. You can't do that without at least some talent. And another thing, he's very poised in the pocket. He keeps his composure. He makes the right reads. He makes the right throws, and he does well. Some cons, and there's more cons than pros for this guy. He's a Mike Leach quarterback. Now, Mike Leach is known for having quarterbacks that just have amazing college years. The one that's escaped it is the college star in Gardner Minshew, who got his shot. He didn't get it in the draft. He was a late round pick, but he made his way into the roster in Jacksonville, and he's gone from there. But from there, you have quarterbacks like Luke Falk, who we saw with the Jets this year, can't throw a football. Tim Couch was one of a Mike Leach quarterback. There's a bunch of quarterbacks that come from the Mike Leach tree who do not perform well, but yet they had amazing years in college. Luke Falk has records on records in the NCAA. That doesn't mean that he is a good quarterback, as we've seen this year. He has this Roethlisberger, Winston mindset, as I proclaim it, where he's going to air that ball out, and he's not really going to care if it gets picked off, because he wants that. 48 touchdowns is great. The 16 picks are a little high, but it's not horrible. But it's just that thing where it's like, I want to score the ball, so I'm going to throw this deep ball no matter what it says. He's not really a rushing threat. He doesn't have really any rushing stats. He doesn't scramble. He doesn't escape. He really keeps himself in the pocket, makes sure he's safe, and goes from there. And if there's nothing there, he'll throw the ball away. And he doesn't come off as a leader. I've watched other videos, one from Zach Schondler from Strong Opinion Sports, who, when he was on the sideline at 2 of the Washington games, he said when they were down, Anthony Gordon was not doing something. The difference between him and Minshew is Minshew, no matter how many points they're down, he's going up and he's like, we got this, like let's go. He's getting people pumped up. Anthony Gordon, he said, kind of sat alone. Wasn't really a big team guy, it looked like. So, a lot of people like playing the game of football. They're talented at it, but a lot of them don't love it. And Anthony Gordon could be susceptible to that. I think a team could take a chance on him in day 3, maybe even day 2 if possible. But it all comes down to his work ethic. It all comes down to if this was just a one-year wonder, if he is just another Luke Falk, Tim Couch kind of guy, or is he a Gardner Minshew where this was the real him, he's good, and let's see where he can go. I'm not sure. I'm putting him at 9, and I think that's where he's safe for now until we know otherwise. After the combine, we'll revisit this, and we'll see where everybody's at. Nate Stanley's coming in at number 8 for Iowa, 6'4", 243, great build for a quarterback. He's a 3-year starter, but here's where why he's so low. I mean, this guy every year, it seems like, has been talked up where, man, Nate Stanley, like this is a guy you want to watch. 58% completion percentage, and he's never surpassed 3,000 yards in a season. 68 and 23 touchdown interception ratio, and he's at 161 rushes for negative 104 yards. He was first in the Big Ten with the 26 touchdowns this year, but overall, he can't run the ball. Obviously, I mean, negative 100 yards on 161 carries is just insane. Never getting 3,000 yards, a bad completion percentage. You look at him like, man, why is this guy even on the list? He's got a great build. He's a day 3 guy. He can sit can sit behind somebody and learn and hopefully become a fringe starter. That's what you want, because that physicality, that build is what people want in the NFL. That's what it's always been. If you can get a quarterback at 6'4", 243, I mean, that's somebody who can take some hits, who can see over the line, who can overall produce. Nate Stanley hasn't done that in college, and Iowa's been a top team. So Nate Stanley has got to work on it. His cons is he doesn't always have good throws. His throws are often overthrown or underthrown. It's out of the receiver's hands where they might be able to get it with their hands, but it's in such a bad placement when it really could have been an easier throw. We've seen that in plenty of games where receivers are having to reach out and make incredible plays sometimes, and that helps Nate Stanley. But sometimes it's the opposite, where they get batted up and picked off. I was watching a game where there was plenty of times he could have been picked off. I think it was the Iowa State game that they played. There's plenty of times he could have been picked off, plenty of times that it was just poorly thrown to an open receiver. So that's something that he's got to work on. He doesn't make the best decisions all the time as well. He doesn't have any wow factor. That's something I look for in a quarterback. Is like, is there a time where I can be watching a game and I can stand up and be like, oh my God, I can't believe he made that throw. Wow, what a play. Because that's what you see with the top guys in the NFL, even the top guys in college. I don't see that it factor. I don't see that special factor from him. So, I mean, personally, I think he could be a decent backup. I think he could be a guy where you have him there in emergency cases, but you're really not looking for him to be a franchise guy. It's just hey, maybe your backup quarterback ran out of contract. You have extra draft picks in the 5th or 6th round. Let's take Nate Stanley. Hey, if he works out, cool. If not, he'll be our backup for however long we decide to keep him. I don't see him as too great of a quarterback. He doesn't have the potential of the past two guys that I have, in my opinion, but I think that right now he is more complete than those two guys, and I think that he would be taken above these guys. And, I mean, we'll move forward right now, but before we move any forward, I do want to say this is my personal opinion on the talent level, where they are right now. This isn't where I think they're going to get drafted. So if Anthony Gordon gets drafted in the 3rd round above the next 3 guys, it's not like, okay, why did you say Nate Stanley was better? These are the guys ranked right now. This isn't where I'm projecting them to be. This isn't the top 10 projected draft slots. I don't think number 10 is going to be the last. I don't think number 1 is going to be number 1. We'll get to that. I think that he will, but this is just purely based on overall talent in my head. So Nate Stanley is going to be at 8 for his 3 years as a starter. Great build. We're going to move on from there. Jake Fromm is at number 7. Now, when we go from 8 to 7, it's a huge jump. These are early day two guys from now on. I think that there's a big drop off in quarterback class after Fromm, and I think that you can switch out a couple guys from here. But I have Fromm at 7, and here's why: 6'2", 220, good build, 3-year starter. He took the job from Jacob Eason, who we'll get to a little bit later. He has over 2,500 completion yards each season, 63% percentage, 76 touchdowns to 18 picks in his career. This year has been his worst season, though. His worst quarterback rating as well. His sophomore year, he had the most touchdowns in the NCAA, which is where he shined, but a big drop-off last year. This year, from in his junior year. Some pros I see for Fromm is that he's been a starter since freshman year. He took over a guy who had immense talent, and Georgia didn't look back. So it's definitely something to see when he had that. He has very raw talent. He had such a great year as a sophomore and not too good of one this year, and I don't think that that's necessarily all his fault. We saw receivers like Riley Ridley come out into the draft this year. So, I mean, Fromm has been working with a bunch of different things. Georgia's a team where they're always having offensive weapons come out. So it's hard for Fromm to stay there 3 years and get different running backs, get different receivers. Holyfield came out last year as well. I think he has above average arm talent. I think that when he was a freshman, he was special because he took the job from Eason. He was winning games for Georgia. They looked good. And I think Fromm has shown that he has that talent. It's better than average, a lot better than some of these guys in the draft. Even some of the guys ahead of him, he has better arm talent than them. Some cons though it was a big fallout from last year. Last year was his best year, and he dropped off a pretty significant amount this year. He may need to be a guy where he sits a year or two behind somebody to learn, and I don't think he's somebody you can draft and start right away. Maybe like a Drew Lock kind of comparison, to where you draft him, you let him sit behind somebody who maybe he could win the job from, but we're going to sit until we really have to play him or when we want to play him, and you can do that. I think Fromm is kind of there. I think he could be a good starting quarterback. I think he could be a decent starting quarterback. I don't see him being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think if you put him in the right system, you put him in an offense where he's built to succeed, I think that he can end up being that for whatever team it is. So I think he is going to be a day two guy, probably a late round two guy in my opinion. Quarterbacks go fast though, so it could go early round two as well. From Jake Fromm to pick one, there is no way I can even see any. Like here's the thing, any one of these guys could go in the first round. Any one of these guys can go in the third round. There's no pure denominator where this guy is a lot better than this guy. There's no way he's going to get drafted. Fromm can go ahead of the next four guys possible. I think that the top three guys are kind of secure, but I think that this row right here is going to be stuck with anyone could hop over anyone. It's a long offseason, combine and everything. So Fromm has the potential to be a lot better, but personally for me, I think he's going to be a day two guy, and that's where I have him at. Now at number 5, we have the guy who lost his job to Fromm, and that's Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason, man, he has had a great season for Washington. He's been one of the best quarterbacks that Washington's had. He's made them a top team. He's made them a talent in the Pac-12. I did not have the statistics for him, unfortunately, but when you look at him, he has the size, he has the talent. I mean, he was the Georgia quarterback. He lost that job to Fromm, not because his talent wasn't there, but because that Fromm just became their guy, and as a freshman, they wanted to run with it because that's a guy that they can have for years and years. And he went to Washington, and he's played insane. He has that 1 year in Washington where that's really what we're basing it on, and I think that it could be a lot better. But when you look at Eason, I think that the first thing you see is, he's got size. Jacob Eason has the size. He looks like a poised quarterback in the pocket. I think that when you see him, you don't see like a quarterback that's like going to be flustered in the pocket. A lot of quarterbacks can't always handle the pressure. I think Eason's a lot different than that. I think that Eason is somebody who will stay in the pocket. I do have his statistics up now. He had 39 touchdowns and 16 picks in his career. He obviously did not play much last year because he was transferring from Georgia, but this year, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He had a good year, over 3,000 yards. But when you go on from there, he's not really a rushing threat. He can run the ball, but it's negative yards as well, like Nate Stanley had. So it's not like you want him to run the ball. He's more or less going to be a pocket guy. But he has shown that he has been one of the better players in the Pac-12 this year, and he's helped Washington go from there. The things I see as a pro is that he's been a starter since his freshman year as well. It's just one of those things where he did lose that job, so we don't know how he's going to react after just really having the 1 year to look at in Washington, because his freshman year was good, but it was, he's a freshman, 16 touchdowns, 8 picks wasn't huge. But I think that when you look at Eason, he's a guy that could come into the league. He could be a fringe first rounder. I think he can go early day 2. I think that he could be a guy where a team that isn't sure if they want a quarterback this year, they could take him. If they waste the second round on him, it happens. Maybe you get a quarterback next year, but I think that Eason could go and play it back up to a aging veteran or a guy that they're not going to keep. Maybe turn out to be good. Some cons I see from him is that you don't have that consistency from him. He's not the perfect thrower with the ball. His completion percentage is kind of low compared to other quarterbacks, as career was 60%, but he definitely could improve there. He's not really going to get out of the pocket for you. It's not something that's in his arsenal. And I think that another con is he lost his job to Jake Fromm, a guy who's one rank behind him, in my opinion. So he did lose that job, unfortunately. So I think it's something to look at, but I think he's shown that in Washington that he's good. I personally thought he should have stayed in college, but I'm pretty sure he's already declared for the NFL. So I think he could have benefited from the last year. Maybe he got a little higher, but Eason is going to be my number 5 prospect. At number 4, this should say number 4. Apologies for that. I don't know why it says number 5, but at number 4, Jordan Love. Jordan Love is one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out of this because I'm a sucker for talent that doesn't show up in the statistics all the time. So for Love, 6'4", 225. He's a 3-year starter at Utah State. Utah State is not a school that's ever going to be competing in any college playoffs, any bowl that you're going to care really too much about. He's a 3-year starter, but he has 62% completion, basically 61.9%, 60 touchdowns to 29 picks, which it's a little high. It's basically a 50. It's a 2 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. He does have 403 rushing yards in his career with 9 total touchdowns. He did lead the NCAA in interceptions this year. which was 17. He did have 20 touchdowns, so 3 touchdowns more than interceptions. So 17 of his picks out of the 29 have been this year. Um, he topped the Midwestern Conference though in efficiency and total yards per play last season. So I think that things to look at Jordan Love is that his talent around him is weak, and that is a pro for him. You look at a guy like Daniel Jones last year. A lot of people wrote Daniel Jones off as not even a first rounder. A lot of people said that he wasn't going to be good. Look at how he played. Look at his numbers. And the problem was that no one watched Duke football. When you go and you sit down and you painfully watch a Duke football game, you saw Daniel Jones make incredible plays. You saw him throw the ball downfield to receivers where he would throw a 60-yard bomb to a wide open guy in the end zone. It would hit his hands and fall to the dirt, and you'd have to run up. You'd have to punt, and it would go down as an incompletion for him. Or you see plays where it would hit the receiver in the hands, pop up, and get picked off. So that happens with a lot of college quarterbacks at smaller schools. And Utah State's not as big as any of the other schools on this list so far, and in the future. So that's a pro for him because I think that when you look at his actual talent, he's got he's got very good arm talent. I think he made some throws in the bowl game where it was just like, wow, let me see that again. That was, you get up out of your seat and see that, and that's something I really love out of quarterbacks. He has a physical talent. He can run somebody over if he wants to. I think that's what he can do. It's kind of like a Dak Prescott rushing attack where Dak's not going to really juke anyone out, but he'll run through somebody, even though he's a quarterback. He's 6'4", 225, so that's something you can use to your advantage for Jordan Love. And I think that he could be drafted by a team with a Hall of Fame quarterback on his way out. So why I said that is that you look at those teams, you look at the Chargers, you look at the Saints, you look at the Patriots, you look at the Chargers. Did I say Chargers already? Let's see, Chargers, Saints, Patriots, and I'm missing one. Steelers was the other one as well. You look at those teams. Those are teams that all need quarterbacks because these old guys are going to be out of there, and they were legends. And I think that getting somebody like Jordan Love, who has the talent but doesn't have the statistics to back it up, I think getting him to put in that backup role can benefit him so much because you look at what the Giants were planning to do with Daniel Jones. They weren't planning to throw Daniel Jones on the fire. Eli was just playing poor, and Daniel Jones was playing well, and they ran him in, and it looks like Daniel Jones is going to be their guy for the very near future, if not longer. And that's something that was a sought after move after we saw this. But before it was, why would the Giants take Daniel Jones? Why would they do this? And now it's looking like it's a little bit better. I think Jordan Love has the opportunity to be that. Let's say he gets taken at 31 by the Saints, right? Imagine they're at 31. He could sit behind Breeze. If they want to get Breeze on a 1-year deal, kind of have him as a last hurrah, Jordan Love could sit behind him, and they can go from there because Teddy B is going to get big money, and unless they're ready to move on from Breeze, I don't think they're going to be able to get Bridgewater back. But you get Jordan Love behind a Breeze or behind a Roethlisberger or even a Rivers if he decides to play again for the Chargers, if the Chargers let him play next year, or even Brady. He could sit behind one of them and truly learn the game from them. And those mistakes he had in college, especially because of where he was playing, I think that will be erased, and I think that he can be a better quarterback. I think that some cons that he has is that the numbers could tell the right story. It's not a far-fetched possibility that he might just not be that good of a quarterback. His numbers, 60 touchdowns to 29, maybe he is just a Jameis Winston type to where he can't throw too many touchdowns without throwing interceptions as well. Another thing I noticed from him is that he kind of zones in on his first read, which you can even kind of see it in this picture. He's looking right at the guy he wants to throw to, and that is also another thing for interceptions to go up because if you're staring down a guy, safeties are able to move around the field pretty quick, and you could throw that ball to the guy you've been staring down, and the safety will jump that route almost every time. So I think that he could benefit learning behind somebody and turn into a very good very solid starting quarterback in the NFL. I think that he needs that time to grow. I don't think he could be thrusted into the fire, and I think that he won't be. I think he's going to be a late first-round pick, if not a very early second. I could see a team trading up for somebody like him to use that raw talent and blossom it into something good over the next year. At number 4, I have Jalen Hurts. Now, a lot of people don't know where to put Jalen Hurts. They don't know if he should be a 5th rounder, move down this list 5 spots, or if he should be a fringe first rounder. I'm in that kind of boat where I think he's a fringe first rounder. I mean, he's 6'2", 218. He's got a pretty decent build for a quarterback. He's been a 3-year starter, but he's played at least 13 games every year that he's been there. He was second in the Heisman voting this year. And you look at his career, he's 65% completion, almost 10,000 yards. It was 9,477 yards, 9 yards per attempt, 80 touchdowns to only 20 picks. He's also rushed for 3,274 yards, and 1,298 of those have been this season. He has 43 total rushing touchdowns in college, with 20 of them coming this season as well. Him being at Oklahoma has just blossomed him into a great quarterback. Lincoln Riley has shown that for the past few quarterbacks in Kyler and Baker. But you also look at the awards he's won. He was the 2016 SEC Offensive Player of the Year. He led the NCAA in passing yards per attempt this year, and he led the Big 12 in yards, touchdowns, efficiency, pass touchdowns, completion percentage, and points all this season. He had an amazing year. If Burrow was not what Burrow was this year, he would have been the Heisman without a doubt. A lot of people even voted him for it. That's why he was number 2. And I think that one of the pros is that, man, you can see this from anywhere. He is a leader. He is a guy that players want to play for. He is somebody that will go up to everybody and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to win this game. No matter what they're down, he is ready to win. He's ready to go, and he's never going to give up. And we saw that in the bowl game against LSU. It was an unfair match. The Oklahoma defense is not ready for that, especially with the stupid decision by their linebacker to get ejected when they don't have a good defense enough to stop a team like LSU. So that was poor. But he's a true dual threat. He's a guy where you should be afraid of him in the pass game, but you're worried about him in the run game, especially because he's a powerful runner. He's a physical runner. He can truck somebody over, just like I said with Jordan Love. He can run through people more than he can juke people out, in my opinion. I think he can fit with a team where they're willing to build around him. I think that it's a big thing in the NFL nowadays, where you want a quarterback that can run the ball almost as good as he can throw the ball. And I think that what we're seeing is that teams have to evolve to where coaches can't be stuck with this. No, this is my playbook. This is all I'm going to run. You have to be able to adjust to it. And I think that that's what we're seeing from coaches. You look at the Cardinals. They went and got a coach that would blossom Kyler Murray's potential. You look at the Bills. The Bills have shown immense what is the word I'm looking for? Progression with Josh Allen because of how they built with him. The Ravens especially. John Harbaugh threw away his Joe Flacco playbook, made a new one for Lamar Jackson, and it's been insane. They have the Heisman formation, which is just a crazy formation, but it works. It's one of those things where if a team is willing to give Hurts the reins and say, you're going to be our guy and we're going to build around you, I think it can work. I think it really can work. And, I mean, the last pro I have for him is that he has the experience. He was an Alabama starter from a freshman year. He got taken over by Tua, which was just a big, thing. But he came back. He played well last season in the playoffs when he got to come in for Tua's injury, and he's played insane for Oklahoma. Some cons is that LSU did expose Oklahoma and exposed Hurts a little bit. That is the top team in college. We don't know how Oklahoma, when the defense is giving up points that quick, he never had time to really rest, to look at his mistakes and kind of learn. So we can't blame him too much, but it did expose him to where teams are going to be a little bit wary. And I think that he isn't a Lamar Jackson. A lot of people see a running quarterback doing well in college, and they're like, ooh, Lamar Jackson. No, Lamar Jackson's a talent that no one can really mimic. I think that Jalen Hurts is his own guy. He's his own player. He runs his own way. He throws his own way. He's not he's not as good of a runner as Lamar Jackson is. Lamar Jackson is one of the best runners in the NFL over a lot of running backs. That's how good Lamar Jackson is. And his arm talent also is inconsistent. I think Hurts, sometimes he makes beautiful throws. Him and CeeDee Lamb have had a great connection this year, and it's shown well. But sometimes, the ball isn't thrown the right way. He got picked off a couple times this season, especially, throughout his career. That was one of the reasons Alabama went with Tua, is because his arm was inconsistent. He wasn't always making the right throws, making the right reads. I think he's shown a lot of progression under Lincoln Riley. I think he can make the next jump in the NFL if a team is willing to give him the chance. Where do I see him going? He could go in early day 3. He could go in day 1. I really couldn't tell you where. In my early mock drafts in the middle of the season, I had Jalen Hurts going in as the 3rd pick from the Dolphins because I didn't see Tua. I didn't know what to do with Tua. I didn't even put Tua in my first round at that time. But Hurts can be a franchise centerpiece. I think it's a team that wants their culture changed, that is willing to believe in this guy. I think that they could do something with him in the NFL if he can amount to the type of pressure that he's going to have with that. And I think he can do it. I think that it's possible. It's not a shoo-in, but we've seen it. We've seen crazier things. We've seen Lamar Jackson. We've seen Gardner Minshew. So we don't know what Hurts can be, but I'm a believer that he can succeed at the next level, and I really hope he can. At number 3, I do have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, one of the top quarterbacks last year. That was one of the things that he was a top 5. He was going to be a top 5 pick last season. He's 6'6", 237, huge build. He's a 4-year starter, over 10,000 yards in his career, 64% completion, 95 touchdowns to 22 picks, and he's rushed for 531 yards for 10 touchdowns in his career. The thing is, he's never really led the NCAA or the Pac-12 in any statistics. He's just been good. He's consistently good, and he's a first-round talent, and I don't see a way he doesn't go in the top 20. His pros, his size. He's got size. 6'6" is a huge guy. So quarterbacks of that size have been shown to do well, pretty much. Paxton Lynch is the exception, but you look at Josh Allen, Daniel Jones. Those are big 6'5" and up guys who they've proven well. It helps to be that tall. It does. It's better to be 6'5" than to be 5'10". That's just how it is. His arm talent is there. No one's lacking. No one's knocking his arm talent. I think that his strength and his accuracy, I think it's good. It's not great, but it's good. He has the experience. 4-year starter is good, and like I said, he was projected top 5 last season, which is very, very good. If he would have came out last year, there's a possibility that the Jets don't have him instead of him. It's a possibility that the Giants never got Saquon, never got Daniel Jones. They had him. It could have been possible the Browns took Herbert. It really was. He was the best quarterback, and he decided to stay in, which was a big shocker to a lot of people, and it's kind of cost him. He's lost a lot of draft slots, but I think he might be a better talent, even though his season hasn't been too good. I think he could be a better talent now because he's more experienced. He can run when needed, but it's not the best part of his game, but he can get out of the pocket if he needs to. His cons, and I only have one con, but it's a big con. He's inconsistent. There's games where he comes out and it's like, wow, he's a top 10 quarterback, no doubt. He's going top 10. He's one of the best. And there's games where he doesn't even look like he should be a first rounder. You look at it, he makes mistakes sometimes, but he also makes incredible throws sometimes. It's very inconsistent, and it's hard for me to grade him as a total prospect. But if one thing I do know is that he is a first round talent. I have him locked for the first round as well as the next 2 guys. I don't see a way that a team can pass on him if there's even a doubt that they need a quarterback, as long as these other 2 are taken. At number 2, he's making his decision on the 6th as it came out today. But this video was already coming out, so we're going through with it. Tua Tagovailoa, I'm imagining that he's going to be coming out of college because I don't think he can take another year of SEC hits. 6'1", 218. He was second in the Heisman voting last year. 3-year starter. He took the job from Jalen Hurts, who was the number 4 guy on my list. In his 2 full seasons, 6,806 yards, 76-9 touchdown interception ratio, and he's rushed for 340 and 9 touchdowns. Last season, when he was fully healthy, he played all year. He topped the SEC in completion, pass yards attempt, passing touchdowns, efficiency. He led the NCAA in that stat. Total yards per play, and he was the top touchdown responsible for in the SEC as well. He did dislocate his hip. He had a posterior wall fracture and a broken nose that did end his season off that hit, that sack that he took in that game. We all saw the injury. We all are worried about it. No one really knows the severity of it. From what we've heard from him and the doctors, that it's not a Bo Jackson injury. It's not a career ender. Some pros, he plays like a Heisman. He has played like the best player in college football every season. The injuries have just hurt him a little bit. He won a championship as a freshman. He took that job from Hurts, and he never looked back, and he got them the national championship for the college playoffs, which is huge. He has superior arm talent. He is just making the throws that you wouldn't see from a lot of quarterbacks. He's hitting guys in stride. He's hitting them in tight coverage. I think that his arm talent is arguably the best in college football. He slowed down on his rushing this season. He didn't have as much as he did the past 2 years, and I think that's because he's had these injuries and he knows that. So he knows he can run, but I think that he's kind of saying, let me use my arm talent as much as I can. The injury that he had, as much as it sucks, it could have happened to anyone, and that's how I view it at least. He's a leader too. I think players like playing for him. I think he's a great guy. Just watching the interview that he had with Herb Street, I think that he's a guy that people want to play for. His cons, injuries, man. Injuries have plagued his college career. We saw Hurts get some time, even though he was transferring. He played in the college football playoffs last year because Tua was not fully healthy, and that's something that teams are going to look at. Teams are going to be concerned. Teams are going to want the physical and the medical records for Tua, and they're going to be studying those so much to figure out if they want to spend a first-round pick on him. Miami fans in the mock draft I did for them, a 7-round mock draft, a lot of them were in the comment section saying that they do not want Tua, and I think a lot of it's because of those injuries, and it's hard to forget his injury over his talent. I think his talent gets overshadowed by those injuries. Another thing is that he's left-handed. He'd be the only left-handed NFL quarterback in the league at this time. Other left-handed quarterbacks, we had Michael Vick, we had Tim Tebow, but it's unorthodox. That's why lefties. That's why it's called southpaw. It's an unorthodox style. Most people aren't left-handed. I'm ambidextrous, so I show love for him because left-handers can do it, but it is odd. And then also, no one knows the severity of the injury, which is what I've said already. Um, we can't tell what's going to happen with his injury. We really just don't know. But lastly, we do have Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is 6'4", 216. He was the Heisman winner, 2-year starter. I can run through this so quick. Over 5,000 yards this season, 55-6, 11 yards per attempt. He rushed for over 700 yards in the past 2 seasons for 12 touchdowns. Led the NCAA in completion percentage, passing touchdowns, yards per play, touchdowns responsible for. He has just been the best college quarterback. Arguably, this season was one of the best college football seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback, and Burrow's done it. He has incredible arm talent. He's decisive with his decisions. He's very on point. He knows which read to look at. He knows which ball he can throw. He has beautiful touch on it. He can lob the ball. He can do a little touch pass. He can throw a bullet. He has the talent. He can extend plays with his feet, get out of the pocket, make plays. The only con he has is that this was a one-year wonder for him. He's a big difference from his last year at LSU. We never saw it with him at Ohio State because he never got to play. Burrow, as great as he is, that is a concern because we do not know if he is going to be a one-year wonder or if he's going to be the best pick. I think he's going to go number 1 overall to the Bengals, though. So that is the end of the video. I think that these are my top 10 guys. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what your top 10 is. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Will Tua come out? Is he a good fit for a team like the Dolphins? Is Herbert better than he is? Should some of these guys be rearranged? Let me know in the comment section below. If you did like the video, make sure to leave it a like and give us a subscribe if you would. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you didn't like it, go ahead and refresh the video, try it again, and see if you like it the second time. But for me, it's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.